Hello, and welcome into another special episode of Into the Dark. Today, I'm not really alone for the video. I'm with a special guest named Zebub. Zebub, I let you introduce yourself to the audience.
Hello everyone, Zebub here, and I want to thank Talk Tonight for letting me come on to this awesome episode. I do horror narrations on YouTube, and I collect stories from all over to share the horror of the universe with you, which is kind of what I'm here to do today.
But what is the subject of today, you may ask? Well, since it's October, we will rank creepypasta and analog horror by their strength and see which one you can or cannot survive against. We also thought we would use our custom ranking, so we will rank each entity with those terms. Town lurkers or monsters that lurk, though towns is a tier for entities that usually only kill a couple people at once and could be taken out with enough force. City smashers are entities with either enough power or sheer number could take a city or parts of a country through force or other abilities. World dominator are entities that could easily take on humanity with its abilities or numbers, but is stuck to this planet. Cosmic creeper are entities that could wipe out the Earth or any other planet or civilization with little to no effort, and can travel far beyond Earth with no issues. There will also be something called color rating, which is your chance of surviving against the entities. Green mean you could survive against the entity. Yellow mean you could survive, but it's most likely not going to happen. Red mean you're gonna die. And purple mean you have more chance to escape a diddy party than to survive. And since it's the first time I'm doing a call-up on this channel, I'll let our guest of today start the video.
I want you to imagine waking up in the middle of the night. You're drenched in sweat. You had a bad dream, a nightmare even, that you were being watched by a horrifying monster. Thankfully for you, though, your room seems to be void of any monsters, but the feeling of being watched never really leaves the back of your mind. It must just be the remnants of the dream affecting your mind, you say to yourself, and you get up to go to the kitchen and get a nice cold glass of water. That feeling isn't leaving your mind, however, and as you absent-mindedly stare out that window, you find out why. Because this thing is staring back at you. The Rake. A pale, bald, hunched-over monster? Alien? A seemingly immortal beast who has been stalking humans for as far back as the 1100s, and maybe even earlier. He has a pretty extensive list of abilities like telepathy, enhanced strength and stealth, and claws. I think he's an easy town lurker, and while him being immortal would make him hard to deal with, I don't think that he is uncapturable, if the government or people in general really try. But with his tendency to keep to the shadows and keep his kill count low, I doubt that it would ever really come to the wider world's knowledge of his existence being true. Although if the theory that more than one Rake exists, then I could definitely see this being a city smasher to even world-dominating threat. Well, I guess they do work mostly solo, so I guess city smasher at max.
One day, a man just like you and me woke up, and one day, he decided to cut himself into pieces, and to put those pieces into a statue. However, this man didn't die. His eyes open. He looked at his daughter, before cutting her, and making her at her turn, living with him forever inside the statue. That man's name was Thomas Crawford, and he is now living forever inside a statue named Freedom. This statue has a sword made of a special glass, which make any body part it cuts still alive, and able to be used by the owner of it. And I know many people in the comment might say they can outrun it, but this thing is so fast it literally creates several forest fire when running. Capable of cutting hundreds of trees in a single swing of its sword. Freedom is also able to fight with the angel who melted the entire Rockefeller bunker, stated to possess the most powerful heat ray ever built, which should be more powerful than the anti-airship death ray used in WW1, which destroyed a Zeppelin filled to the brim with canyon crowns with a single shot, and it stated that the angel will become a walking bomb that will split the earth open. Freedom from Monument Mythos would be in the high city smasher tier at least, and world dominator at best. And what people say, I will still stay alive if it cut me with its special sword. It can still kill you with its hand, doesn't it?
How many times do you think that humanity has almost ended itself? Twice with the World Wars, maybe 3 times since the Cold War was so admittedly close, just one push of a button away, maybe right now. In the endless chaos of the modern world, we are so close to the edge of our own destruction that we haven't even noticed yet. Well, according to the lore of Midwest Angelica, Zazil is the reason why all these events happened. Not just these, but every time humanity has been brought to the brink, apparently. It has been because of this entity. Hundreds, maybe even thousands of times, orchestrated events from behind the scenes, always out of reach. Even when it sets foot on this planet, it only sends a chunk of itself down, and that absorbs biomass to try and reconstruct God's realm, as it puts it, and spread its will across all of Earth. With said biomass, it can clone itself to be even stronger than the original form, possess people and manipulate people to scary levels, dig into people's minds to bring out their biggest fears, and even make physical manifestations. Even if you destroy that chunk, it's because 1, it probably lets you do it, and 2, you can just send down another threat. He is a powerful demon, by no means is something humanity is equipped to deal with, and clearly has a means to do this to any other civilization that he would deem fit. And thus, I'm confident in putting him in the Cosmic Creeper tier.
Those muffins were pretty good, weren't they, Jim? How many did you eat?
While this may not be a creepypasta nor an analog horror, the Danty case has to be one of the creepiest events from the victim's point of view when you remove the humorous part. So let's talk about it. On the February 4th, 2015, an interview was posted on the channel Onion. An interview with an unhinged driver instructor named Danny. We soon figure out that Danny is a very deranged serial killer who only presents himself as a driver instructor for one thing.
Angry about your driving.
You can't let it get to you. For example, in 1996, some guy gave me the middle finger after I cut him off. I recognized him from TV. That's when I decided to become a defensive driving instructor, developing the skills I needed to eventually be invited on his show as an expert. Once you're there, it's just a simple matter of switching out his muffins with the ones you made yourself.
You know, we as humans always find a horrible situation funny. That, until it happened to us, of course. So when you put yourself at the victim's place and consider that this guy can kill your kids whenever he wants, it hasn't done it yet. It's pretty creepy.
Just last week, I was waiting for a stoplight to change when some angry driver behind me was leaning on the horn.
I hate that.
But then, I remembered. He's human. Just like me. He has a family that loves him. And that's an exploitable weakness. I started sending him videotapes, hours-long videotapes filmed outside his parents' home. Now, he's frantic and confused, but I always say you can't give angry drivers the satisfaction of knowing why their parents are being filmed, which is why I call him every night from a payphone and just recite a series of cryptic numbers that don't mean anything.
Calm, cool, collected. I love it.
Well, getting cut off is one thing, but how do you possibly stay calm during a fender bender that wasn't your
Oh
fault?
boy, I need this one.
Of course, it's hard to keep a cool head in that situation. You'll feel the urge to slam into the jerk's car right where you see the baby seat. But you don't want to do anything that could get somebody hurt on the road. Instead, you should murder the person's next door neighbor. When he moves someplace safer, you follow him and you kill his next door neighbor again. And again. Now he can't escape death and he has no idea who you even are.
On top of having high stalking skills and knowing how to kill without getting caught, unlike myself, Danny has also a very good working memory index, remembering what Jim did to him years ago. And while he has no special power, he highly relies on using psychological warfare before killing someone. Just joking. I've let myself get caught only once, and it was just to hear to despair and suffering in my victim's voice. And I know you're gonna see this and recognize yourself, Lendon, and I'm waiting to strike again. I placed Danny at the town lurker tier with yellow rating since you could survive against him, but because of his cunning, planning and psychological warfare tactics, you would eventually become crazy and broken.
Those muffins were pretty good, weren't they, Jim? How many did you eat?
What? I don't know.
Thank you so much for sharing your tips, Danny.
Danny is not my true name.
Now, technically including all of the Vcarness is a bit cheating, but they all come from the same place, so I figure counting all of the forms of the Vcarness is fair enough. Well, okay, realistically, I'll be talking about like 4 of the forms, since trimmings and meat snakes are not aggressive towards people. The crawl spawns all these creatures, so it's kind of in a weird spot, and I'm not quite sure where to put the singularity, mainly because we know squat about it. Oh, and I'm also going to assume that they do not have their cult that's helped them fool the world into downplaying their threat, because with it there, they easily become a world dominator for reasons that I'll get into later. Starting off with the mimics, I am honestly not too impressed. Sure, their superhuman strength, stalking, and surprisingly stealthy capabilities are impressive on paper, but is that really enough to bring the modern-day world to its knees? Realistically, no. They would never be able to leave the town lurker status. Even their elder mimic form just seems to be a tougher, stronger version of the previously mentioned mimic, and their mimicking ability leaves a lot to be desired. Scary, yes, but overall, is quite lackluster. The Harvester is a bit more interesting though, and with its quite frankly mortifying hunting abilities. First, it strikes you with a neurotoxin that paralyzes you, and then an anticoagulant that makes sure that your blood spills right out of you. No clotting guaranteed. And then they slurp up the nutrients and wait for the next prey. Oh yeah, and they can also move. I mean, yeah, these flesh buds are definitely brutal, but again, I wouldn't put them any higher than a town lurker status on their own. Imagine if a whole swarm of these things surrounded a small town or village, though. The host is up next on the totem pole. All we know is that they release spores into the air that mind control people into coming to them so that they can eat them. There is only one picture of this species in existence, so I'm willing to bet that they are pretty efficient killers, and it's hard to get close to them. And honestly, I would give them a low city smasher level, as if one of them made their way to a city and just started pumping spores out, there isn't much to be done, as they could spread throughout the city, luring hundreds of thousands to a grisly end. We don't know how they interact with gas masks or face coverings, as those may be the only way to protect yourself against an attack like this, but I don't think that by themselves they would be a global threat, as I am going to assume that they have the same durability as a mimic, as this hasn't been disproven, and I have no reason to believe otherwise. Now, on to the juggernauts that are the monoliths, standing at a staggering 120 meters, or 394 feet. Their height alone makes them quite dangerous already, but they also have EMP-like abilities, as it was able to completely stop tanks and helicopters in their tracks, and they can regenerate from any damage that they take. We don't know how they would react to nukes, so maybe they can be defeated that way. I could easily give these guys city smashers and maybe even world dominators, but we haven't seen them go up against some of humanity's best weapons, so I'm unsure. As a whole though, if you put all the Vcarness together, I would say that their various abilities and numbers have them at world dominators, but at the lower end. I think a war between humanity and the Vcarness would be ruthless, and leave the earth in tatters, but in the end, I think that the flesh beasts would be the ones walking on this earth after it was all said and done.
Usain Bolt is the world's fastest man. He won 2 4x100 relay gold medals. He gained worldwide fame for his double sprint victory in world record times at the 2008 Beijing Olympics, which made him the first person to hold both records since fully automatic time became mandatory. Bolt is the only sprinter to win Olympic 100 meters and 200 meters titles at 3 consecutive Olympics. All of that to get mocked by a giant blue hedgehog. Sonic, better known as Shinnok, is the main antagonist of the Sonic tape series, also called the Shin Sonic series, made by Vcarness. He is a hideous version of Sonic hell-bent on evolving and becoming more powerful at rapid speeds while kidnapping and consuming people, and as well collecting the Chaos or Super Emeralds to wreak havoc on the world around him. And in case you manage fire, I don't know what has outrun this kaiju-looking hedgehog. He has tails that will chase you to death and murk you. This thing is not on the purple rating because of its massive size, but because it's as fast as normal Sonic. And if you didn't know, normal Sonic outran a black hole with almost no stamina. And not even light can escape a black hole, which means Shinnok is FTL or faster than light. This thing would be at least in the world dominator tier. But if you know how fast and powerful normal Sonic is, Shenik can be easily placed in the cosmic creeper tier.
College is a fairly confusing and turbulent time for any student, but good old Eilish Jack definitely had it bad. Was a part of some failed elder god ritual, and now he looks like this. Now, surprisingly, this guy's diet consists of only kidneys. Human kidneys, to be specific, and luckily for him, with his new eldritch powers, he seems to be well equipped at being able to remove them from people. Not even in a rip and tear kind of way, but like a surgical and professional way, which, paired with his otherworldly stealth, means that he never really has been caught, which, I mean, considering what he's doing, is fairly impressive. His body underwent some changes too, not just his face looking like that mask, but his mouth is now filled with razor-sharp and needle-like teeth, and he has these massive claws too that he can whip out, so if he doesn't have a knife or a scalpel on hand, he'll still get at them kidneys. He's pretty strong too, being able to easily overpower two boys of a similar age, and he is confirmed to be immortal. They said that there is no known limit to his physical strength. Perks of being a failed Elder God sacrifice, I suppose. While his powers are simple, they're actually quite powerful in my mind, but with his immortality, I'm pretty comfortable giving him a low City Smasher rank.
Before continuing the video, I'd like to say that this video is sponsorized by no one. But I now have a Discord server, which is cool. Link in the description. When someone says magic, what comes into your mind first? Is it a gentleman who pulls rabbits out of his hat? Or is it a complete loser who is destined for poverty and depression and has no skills whatsoever in doing magic? Because when it come to Danty, he was always the second option, barely making money to survive, always falling his tricks, condemned to remain a loser. That, until he somehow got his hands on a demonic cloak that gave him supernatural powers. The big downside is that Danty is obliged to feed the cloak with human, because it craves blood and will cut out its bound with him if it doesn't have what it wants.
We have an audience tonight. So why are you working? What do you want from me?
The cloak's power comes from what's inside it. But he had to feed it, and it was only hungry for one thing.
Sorry, oh my god, turn that off. It's not funny. Can you hand me a towel? Seriously?
Get on. Karagi.
The power given by the cloak really depends on your imagination, so it can be anything as long as you satisfy its desire for blood. But Danty is only shown using teleportation, telekinesis and throwing fireball. For example, Danty can open portals to teleport someone to him or to teleport himself. And during a SWAT raid, Danty used telekinesis to explode, or use the SWAT's members as body puppet, as well as throwing fireball and swapping his place with someone to make them think he was dead. So could you survive? Yes and no. If you are smart enough and manage to make him do a move that will remove the cloak off of him, or just manage to remove the cloak somehow, you could just feed him to the cloak and erase the body. If not, then you're cooked. Danty is pretty much a selfish individual, so it would be easy to trick him. But if you're in a direct confrontation, you can't run because you would get teleported by the cloak back to Danty. And you can't fight because he's just gonna immobilize you and feed you to the cloak. That's why I am giving him yellow color rating. As for the ranking, since Danty is just a normal human who didn't exploit the full potential of the cloak, I give him City Smasher at least, Hello World Dominator at best.
Space magic is dead. It's on Wikipedia. You will never discover how I do it.
Okay, so for my next pick, I'm going with the Batman from the DCAHU. Bit of a mouthful there. The Batman, to me, is a surprising breath of fresh air in the analog horror genre. It is, in my opinion, taking a well-established hero and really turning him into a monster. Hold on, let me set the scene. The year is 1939. A young boy and his parents walk out of a movie theater and go down the wrong alleyway, leading them to get robbed and eventually killed in front of their young child, Bruce Wayne. After this traumatic event, the boy disappears from public view completely, and crime runs rampant in Gotham City. Until, 21 years later, when a strange bat-like man was spotted in Arkham Asylum, causing the place to go into immediate lockdown. He broke into the special detainment section and murdered 3 patients in such a brutal fashion that it would be unforgettable. He left one John Doe in such a terrible mental state that all he could ramble about was some bat creature coming for him and draw insane pictures of what looked to be a demon. Langstrom's arms were amputated, his body was impaled by a sharp, bat-shaped object, and he appeared to have been beaten to death. Isley had her skin and fiery red hair removed, while Jones was found with his eyes and teeth extracted. Their bodies were aligned together to form the shape of a bat, and then he vanished without a trace, as if he had never even been there at all. After this, the bat was said to terrorize Gotham for a while, and almost reduce the crime rates to 0 because of his brutal methods against criminals. But it wasn't all good. It was also stated that he was luring children away, and that you needed to keep your doors locked and your windows closed, lest he'd come for your child next. But the strangest thing to come out of all of this is that after the Wayne's Manor mysteriously burns down, the bat completely disappears. With a lot of people, mainly the police, assuming that Bruce Wayne was the very demon of Gotham himself. Later in the series, it is shown that he kidnaps children who, in other universes, would be the Robins, and making them like him using some strange version of venom to do it, which is also how he got all of his powers, so to say. So, going into his powers, he seems to have some, mostly the usual ones: super strength, teleportation, or an ability akin to that. He also has access to fear toxin and venom, and potentially even has the police in his back pocket, as even Jim Gordon is unsure. He has super stealth and super durability, as he survived his mansion being burned down with him inside. I would classify this version of Batman as a high town lurker, bordering on a city smasher. He's able to terrorize Gotham and put a lot of heavy hitters out of commission, but still isn't really able to completely subjugate Gotham, although he did get very close. With it being unclear on whether or not he controls the police, being one of the major reasons why I can't pull him fully at City Smasher tier, I think as the series goes on, and we see more of him, he may completely kill off his rogues gallery like Joker and Two-Face, and the like, and smash the city of Gotham, and move up in the ranks ultimately.
Honestly, I couldn't find footage of this one, but the Dragon Ball, the other analog horror, is a result of if Mandela catalog fused with the Dragon Ball universe, and I think this one is gonna be my shortest entry. But basically, you know how alternate are imperfect replica of people in the Mandela catalog. Well, it's basically what happened in that universe, but instead of normal people, it's literally Saiyans, and that's really all there is to it. So could you survive? Well, it depends on the alternate. For example, Broly's alternate became friend with him. But in a video that I couldn't find, a Saiyan explained that they can do whatever they want, and they have no limits. Fortunately for me, and unfortunately for you, I found a footage of them literally removing Ultra Instinct from Goku, and beating the crap out of him. That's why I'm giving them purple color rating and cosmic creeper rank. And despite this short entry about it, the DBZ analog horror may be the strongest universe we've covered in this video. Honestly, that's the first time I'm doing a collab on this channel, and I'd like to thank our guest of today. His channel and the Discord is in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. Until then, I was your host for today, and this was the 6th episode of Into the Dark.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. If you feel you have reached this recording in error, please check the number and try your call again.